Yeah, no, it sounds pretty good, man. Sounds pretty good, my end. So yeah, that's the other question. We still need a name for this thing. We don't actually have a name for this thing. And
Dude, I'm so disappointed that we can't have Shut Up Wesley.
Oh, I know. Shut Up Wesley is already taken. It's a tough one. It's a real tough one. I mean, we can't just could we just edit the name in post, do like a Mr. Black situation? It's like, hello, you're listening to the Mr. Black.
Mr. Black. Yeah, we might have to.
Oh.
Because I guess we sort of need to introduce, I don't know. I don't really need to introduce. Do we need to introduce who we are?
We could do.
Does anyone care?
I mean, we could just go with something really cheesy like TNA, a TNG podcast. Or A&T, a TNG podcast. I don't mind who gets first billing, man. It's like a Lennon McCartney situation.
Yeah, you can take the naming credit there.
All right, man. Frick it. We'll do the naming close. Okay. So we're doing this thing.
We're doing it, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Tonight, the 24th century begins.
Welcome to the Enterprise.
In a special world premiere movie, Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Ready for departure, sir. Engage.
78 years have passed since the days of the original USS Enterprise. Now a new Galaxy starship has been designed with a new team of highly skilled Federation explorers. Starfleet Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Commander Riker, Executive Officer, Chief Medical Officer Crusher, and her brilliant son, Wesley, Lieutenant Commander Data, an android, the telepathic Troy, Geordi, a man with unique vision, Security Officer Yar, and Klingon Officer Worf.
Shields and deflectors up, sir.
Go to yellow alert.
Their first mission, investigate a new star base on planet Deneb 4.
Thou art directed to return to thine own solar system immediately.
A hostile alien threatens the crew.
Now go back, or thou shalt most certainly die.
But they're determined to finish their mission.
Arm aft photon torpedoes. Place them on ready status.
Hostile is now beginning to overtake us, sir.
Together, they stand trial before a merciless court.
You will now answer to the charge of being a grievously savage race.
Now, they have 24 hours to uncover the secrets of a strange world.
They're firing on Farpoint, sir.
The classic legend begins an all-new adventure.
Let's see what's out there.
Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Hello and welcome to the Mr. Black Star Trek podcast, because we don't have a name for this thing yet. Basically, the whole point of this podcast is going to be a chronological exploration of Star Trek: The Next Generation, starting from episode 1, season 1, going all the way through to the end, or until one of us dies. Which
is a distinct possibility.
A strong possibility. Could happen any day now. So, yeah, I guess we should introduce ourselves. My name is Tom, and my co-host.
Hey, I'm Andy. Hi.
Yeah, basically, just a quick. What's your history with the show, man? How far back do you go with The Next Generation? Are you?
Oh, mate. I mean, yeah, I grew up on this. This was my childhood, go-to TV show. Yeah, so I was watching this when I was 6, 7 years old.
Yeah. See, my earliest memory of the show is I wasn't really like a day one Ground Zeroes Next Generation watcher. I remember it sort of being on, for any of our British listeners, on BBC Two, kind of around the same sort of time slot as The Simpsons, maybe Ren and Stimpy, kind of in the mid-90s. So I do remember it being on quite a lot, and I always did try and catch it when it was. But I mean, I was very young around that kind of time. I was probably about maybe 6 or 7.
Yeah, I missed the. Obviously, I wasn't really. I think I was 3 years old when this first came out, so I missed the original one.
Yeah, I was just looking at the air date for this original first episode. It was September 28th in 1987, which was a couple of months after I was born. So
really, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, this is this is really old school. But
yeah, we are plumbing the depths.
We are plumbing the depths. A deep dive into those sketchy early episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's without further ado, let's dive in. So this is Star Trek: The Next Generation, Episode 1, Encounter at Farpoint.
Captain's log, stardate 41153.7. Our destination is planet Deneb 4. beyond which lies the great unexplored mass of the galaxy.
The episode starts with like a really like pretty gorgeous opening shot of the ship, to be honest. For like 1987 CGI, it's like pretty stunning.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's quite a sort of drawn out intro, the way they introduce the Enterprise, and you've got Picard, you know, walking around the decks. He's down in engineering. He's around the bridge. He's kind of, you know, meeting and greeting.
You definitely get like a pretty good feel for like the size of the ship and the crew and stuff in those opening shots. Have I got this right? I've got a note here saying their destination is it Deneb 4?
Deneb 4.
Deneb 4. But they are stopping. I guess their mission is to stop off at Farpoint station.
I think. Well, they're picking up Riker, aren't they? And the rest of the crew.
Okay.
But they're kind of en route to this Deneb 4, wherever the hell that is. I know Deneb. That's a star in the galaxy somewhere.
Okay.
So 4, I guess, would be the 4th planet. I think I had a processor once. It was a Deneb.
Nice.
Just yeah. So they're probably not heading towards and his shitty AMD processor.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just a planet of discarded processors.
It is, yeah. It's the AMD trash heap.
I've got a note here that says Snoop Picard triggered.
Oh god, with Data.
He mentions to Data about snooping.
Yeah, and then Data just reels off like a whole like glossary of different words.
Yeah, we're introduced to Troy, who senses something.
Yeah, no, this is obviously the main theme with Troy throughout the whole run of the show, is that she's sensing stuff. And almost always it's whatever you can already see happening on screen, or you know, it's not that she's basically not the most useful character on the show.
Yeah,
but yeah, she senses something, and then immediately after that, the yellow alert sirens go off, and you know, something actually happens. It's like, okay,
yeah,
so she was right.
Well, you're saying that Captain Obvious was actually kind of useful at this point?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, and with this, cue John Delancey as Q.
Thou art notified that thy kind have infiltrated the galaxy too far already. Thou art directed to return to thine own solar system immediately.
That's quite a directive. Would you mind identifying what you are?
We call ourselves the Cube. Well, thou mayst call me that. It's all much the same thing.
Oh yeah, what do you think about Q?
The character, personally, I absolutely love. I think he's one of my favourite. I actually forgot he was in the first episode, the pilot episode. The ship itself, the Enterprise, runs into like a big CGI hex grid force field type thing that stretches out across deep space. And yeah, in comes John Delancey as a tanned-faced Shakespeare, which is kind of confusing. I don't know. It is. I don't know if you noticed this.
And he's talking in like kind of ye olde Englishy / pirate.
Yeah,
which I thought was very funny. I did pick up. There's a great line. I think the officer who's at ops shouts out, "Something strange on this detector circuit." When the force field starts up, I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't really got their tech down at this point, so they were just kind of winging it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, and you can tell as well.
Yeah.
You can absolutely tell. I've got a note here that says he freezes Lieutenant Torres just when he tries to make an advance on him to maybe take him down or something.
It is, yeah.
He's gallivanting around dressed as Shakespeare.
And then I think we have the best line of the entire episode actually coming up from Troy. Yeah. So as soon as he's frozen, Troy shouts out. Or she exclaims, "Oh my god, he's frozen!" Or maybe not, "Oh my god," but it's just, she basically just shouts out, "He's frozen!"
More amazing expository dialogue from Captain Obvious.
Yeah,
so,
that's great.
Yeah, the whole reason for Q being there is he's accusing humanity of savagery and holding Picard and the crew of the Enterprise accountable for humanity's crimes.
Yeah, so he singled out the Enterprise crew And I thought this was quite an interesting plot choice, actually, because obviously Gene Roddenberry, with the original series as well, he was very much the kind of lefty, hippie type, love everyone, and he was kind of making that statement of, humans have been pretty horrific throughout history, but that's no longer the case, in the future, because we've evolved. So really, it's that kind of exploration of have humans evolved. I thought it was quite interesting.
Yeah. But I've noticed that one of my favourite parts of this is like Q just kind of transforming into different he transforms into like a 50s US military general.
Yeah.
And I've got a note.
We've got to get the commies. Get the commies. Get the commies. Got to get the commies.
I've got a note here that says "coked up future soldier."
Yeah, and just to go a little bit conspiracy on you. Did you notice the Illuminati symbol?
I did notice the Illuminati
on the soldier's forehead. The triangle of the eye. I can't help but notice this shit.
Yeah.
I thought that was good.
What happened in the post-atomic horror is what I want to know.
Yeah, so they're hinting now, obviously, that there's been some sort of full-blown nuclear war in our past.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a few episodes actually in Trek that talk about that. So yeah, you've got they're transported over to the court, aren't they?
Yeah, essentially.
Does that happen?
Well, essentially, Q tricks Picard into court judgment. Picard kind of he talks himself into the situation.
Yeah.
They try to outrun Q at first.
Of course.
Yeah.
How could I forget that?
Yeah,
that's 10 minutes.
Yeah, that pointless 10-minute sequence. Essentially, the Enterprise tries to outrun Q, this entity, and he gives chase, and they realise they kind of have no choice but to either sort of turn and face him or try some kind of evasive manoeuvres. And this is the pointless 10-minute sequence of ship separation. We see the saucer section come apart from the rest of the ship, I guess the battle bridge. And this
that's right.
And this just takes far too long, to be totally honest with you, man. I don't know how you felt about this scene.
No, the first time watching this episode through again, I thought it was painful. The second time, I just skipped it because I couldn't bear to watch it again. And it's super dramatic. Data's trying to sort of calculate in his head, what's the risk of separating at warp speed,
and then such theoretical, I believe, is the line.
Yeah, but highly dangerous.
But I think that is Picard's plan not to. Does he not fire torpedoes at Q, which are basically timed to explode and blind him as the ship separation is taking place, so he doesn't go after the saucer section? It's very convoluted and goes on for a very long time.
And then they have the sort of cutaway shot of the actual ship separating, and they've got the music in the background, and it's all very kind of grandiose, and it's funny. I think we probably feel the same because they never use this again.
No.
In the entire, I think maybe one more episode in the whole run of the show, they actually have something with the saucer separation.
Yeah.
So they have this massive set piece of we're going to separate the ship, and then later on when they bring it back together, and it just goes nowhere.
Yeah, it just kind of stops the episode dead, especially in the midst of this really intense chase. It's just like, oh no, we're just going to stop for this huge ship separation set piece, which is going to take about 10 minutes or so to get through. But they basically manage to separate the ship successfully. The battle bridge comes to a complete stop and turns around to face Q, in which Picard agrees to surrender with no terms or conditions.
Much to the horror of the rest of the crew.
Yes, there's a big smell the fart acting moment. After this, I think, is this not the scene where Data, Yar, Troy, and Picard are transported into the future court of 2079?
Yes.
The weird Nazi-tinged...
the post-atomic horror.
That's right, the post-atomic horror. And I thought of The Simpsons when there was an awed hush as Q entered as the judge.
It is. And I have to wonder, you look at the crowd, they're all wearing kind of, I don't know, kind of hillbilly costumes.
Yeah, this is some weird kind of Mad Max crossed with Amish, post-atomic horror by the looks of things.
Yeah.
It's very
bit of a weird one.
Yeah, for sure. I believe there is some kind of an ensuing struggle where Tasha Yar takes out a guard. Takes out one of
these future soldiers.
Yes, who I've got a note here that says blows a fat rail before being murdered with an Uzi.
Yeah, I know. This scene didn't make any sense to me.
No.
Because I mean the way Q shouts, "You're out of order" to the soldier, and then the other soldier executes him. I didn't get it.
No, I really don't understand the justice system of this dystopian future. It basically ends up with Data refuting the charges against them, and Yar giving a long, impassionate speech.
Tasha, no!
I must, because I grew up in a world that allowed things like this court, and it was people like these that saved me from it. This so-called court should get down on its knees to what Starfleet is, what it represents.
After which she's frozen solid.
Yeah, so they've used up their special effects budget for the episode now. They've had 2 people freeze. But this has a bit more peril about it because they don't have the sick bay to possibly revive her. So Picard goes off on an impassioned plea to Q about barbarism and all the rest of it.
Their scenes together are always so much fun.
Yeah, and to be honest, I love the chemistry between Patrick Stewart and Delancey. I thought it was great with Q and Picard squaring off.
Yeah.
I think they kind of, they save a lot of the scenes that could be, quite, in hindsight, painful to be watching through, and they do give it a bit of, drama, like real drama.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to be honest with you, like some of the those early episodes, they haven't got the strongest writing, but I feel like it is Picard and Delancey who kind of bring something else to it and do make it a hell of a lot more watchable. I just love Yar's impassioned, tearful speech, and then she's just frozen into a popsicle immediately afterwards. And then the dwarf with the bell was cracking me up.
The dwarf with the bell, yeah.
Such passionate ringing.
The kind of maniacal look on his face as well.
Yeah, man, you give that guy an Oscar, honestly. Yeah, it ends up with Picard demanding a fair trial in which Yar is unfrozen, and Picard continues to refute the charges, and Data and Troy end up with machine guns pointed to their heads, which I thought was pretty extreme.
It was, yeah. And Picard is basically given the plead guilty or innocent. Yes. And if he pleads obviously anything other than guilty, supposedly going to get shot. I don't know. I mean, this was it's a bit forced, isn't it? Really,
it was just a touch. I mean, Picard does end up pleading guilty, but provisionally, and the scene ends up with them basically being tested. There's going to be a test put in place for them to see whether they are guilty of humanity's crimes and whether humanity has evolved beyond this savage state of which Q's kind of accusing them of being.
Yeah, that's right. And then you get your first. So Q actually tells them it's going to be a challenge.
He does
up ahead with Farpoint.
Well, after this, they're transported back to the ship. Seemingly nothing's changed. Nobody even notices that they've left, and they're still on their way to Farpoint. Picard says that they're going to continue unfazed, as if nothing's happened. I've got a note here saying now we see Jonathan Frakes, a beardless Jonathan Frakes.
this caught me off guard, rewatching this episode, because he's only beardless for the first series.
Yeah,
and you just forget. Oh yeah, he started off without the beard.
It really throws me off, to be honest. A beardless Jonathan Frakes. I don't know. Are you about the beard or not about the beard?
I like the beard.
Yeah, I think. Well, he clearly liked the beard. Although he does have to shave it off in one of those movies, right? Doesn't Troy make him shave off the beard?
Yeah, I think there's a sensual kind of
bathtub scene.
Yeah, where Troy gives him a close shave.
We'll get to it one day.
Personal log, Commander William Riker. Stardate 41153.7. The USS Hood has dropped me off at Farpoint Station, where I await the arrival of the new USS Enterprise, to which I have been assigned as first officer. Meanwhile, I have been asked to visit the Farpoint Administrator's office in the Old City.
But yeah, basically, Jonathan Frakes, who plays Commander Riker, is at Farpoint awaiting to be picked up by the Enterprise, and he meets with, is it Groplazor?
Groplazor, that's right. There's a little So just the name Groppler Zorn. It's like
Groppler Zorn.
Groppler Zorn of the Bandy.
That's it.
So basically, it's not one of these humanoid alien races that basically looks like a human, but it's an alien.
We don't want to put makeup on these people. Let's just throw some rags on them and
yeah, give them a crazy haircut.
Yeah, that's it. Crazy haircut and a stupid name.
Yeah, so there's a scene, isn't there, with the fruit and the apples that suddenly appear, and you get your first kind of. It's not very well. I don't think the scene's particularly well done, but you do get this kind of view of Farpoint that not all is as it seems, and then it seems to be responding to people's desires.
Yeah, that's right. I believe Commander Riker is offered an apple or offered some fruit. And
some fruit, yeah.
He's after an apple, but there isn't an apple in the bowl, and seconds later, a bowl full of apples kind of appear on the desk.
And those apples look tasty. I'd grab one.
Yeah, they do look prime, man. I was getting hungry watching this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you say, it's the first sign that not everything is entirely as it seems on Farpoint Station. We then jump to a scene with Dr. Crusher and her son...
Oh, Wesley.
Her son Wesley, played by Gates McFadden and Will Wheaton. They bump into Commander Riker and they head to the mall? ?
They do, and there's a bit of it's some really weird dialogue here, because the Doctor comes across as kind of aloof, not very friendly.
Yeah.
I didn't really get this... because she's not at all like that in basically the rest of the show. Yeah, but they just clearly hadn't fleshed out her character yet. I don't know. Riker's trying to be sort of quite friendly, quite positive.
Yeah, and
Crusher just, crushes him.
Yeah, she totally does. She totally does crush him. He seems way more young and spunky in these early episodes.
It does. It's the beardless Riker.
It is the beardless Riker, but the same thing ends up happening again when they stop at a stand selling some kind of material, and I think it's Dr. Crusher.
Yeah, silks.
Yeah, she remarks that she would prefer something with gold on, and seconds later, the same material she was asking for just kind of magically appears on the stand, and she orders it all, but still... There is something not quite right about this place.
There is, yeah. So she orders it all, but then later on we find out that the Federation doesn't believe in money. So I'm not sure how she actually pays for it. This is nitpicking for the sake of it, but
well, she does say to put it on her account, does she not?
On her account, yeah.
But
so presumably there's some sort of finance plan available.
But they do eventually part ways afterwards. I've got a note here that says, "Creepy Riker smile at Wes." Did you clock that?
I did. I did clock that.
It's really,
it's just good spot. Yeah.
It's just kind of odd, but incredibly funny.
And I think he says something like, look forward to seeing you on board.
Yeah, it's just like very, very, very cheesy grin. At which point, though, LaForge appears and escorts Riker back to the ship.
That's right. Well, Forge gives him a report, and it all goes very formal all of a sudden. And Riker sort of pulls him up, and
he does. Yeah, he totally pulls rank on him.
Yeah, and then LaForge has to introduce himself, and which I think was probably just a way of introducing his character name as Lieutenant Forge, and but it's I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one that.
It is. It is. The whole scene is just very kind of odd and uncomfortable, but at the same time, still kind of, I don't know, I find it kind of charming as well. Like you say, everybody's still sort of trying to find their character in the show.
Yeah. But, I think it's probably going to be quite easy for us to rip into these early episodes, but without them, the golden nuggets wouldn't have appeared afterwards.
That's true. So yeah, we end up back on the Enterprise where Riker ends up getting the cold shoulder from Picard, which is quite funny.
Yeah, I thought this was a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, Picard's being a real dick here, man. I mean, I realise his hands are tied at the moment, but...
Well, yeah, Picard doesn't even look at Riker, and then as like an afterthought, says, "Oh, welcome to welcome on board."
Yeah.
And also, there was a moment earlier on, I think, which I think we probably just skipped over, but I did make a note of it, where basically Picard is talking about his first officer coming on board, and is like we've been assigned one, Will Riker, to act as first officer. But then, so like it's a completely random, like they've just assigned some officer to be the first officer.
Yeah, how did he get to be aboard the Enterprise? Is this kind of explored a little later on, or is it just like a...
Well, it is, and actually in later episodes, you've got Picard talking about how he chose Riker after looking through loads of different files of different officers. And
oh, okay, so they just...
there's a bit of a continuity issue.
Yeah, they just retconned that out.
Yeah.
But Riker is brought up to speed with the video playback and is ordered to then go to Picard's office to basically discuss manually docking the ship back together, which brings us to a completely pointless scene. But I guess
so I guess this was a test, wasn't it, from Picard?
Yes, yeah, I think so.
Giving Riker something that's supposedly quite difficult to do, a manual docking.
Yeah. Manual docking.
Based on all of the raised eyebrows that come when Riker says that he's going to attempt to do a manual docking of the saucer section.
That's it. He just says as ordered, so that they know he doesn't really have any choice. Picard is indeed testing him. But he does, in fact, manage to get the ship back together. Picard congratulates him, and, he congratulates him rather flatly, and then asks him to make sure he doesn't make an ass of himself around children.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a theme, isn't it, with Picard?
Yeah.
Going forward, he doesn't like kids.
Yeah, it's bizarre, to be honest with you. Do they keep this up throughout the rest of the show? Just him kind of being a antisocial, I have no people skills, and I hate children?
Yeah, they do bring it up a few times.
Yeah.
I think there's an episode way later on where he's trapped in a turbo lift with like small children, and it's just excruciating because it's basically Picard's worst nightmare. He's got to like babysit 4 kids.
Yeah, I guess he just really he does say he really doesn't know how to behave around children, which I mean I guess I can relate to that. I don't really know how to talk to kids. I mean nephews are okay, but other people's kids, what the fuck?
Just other people's kids, honestly. Keep them away,
We get a really kind of weird little scene with some exposition about LaForge's problem with his sight.
Yeah, talking about pain and I think Crusher offers him some painkillers, but that will stop the visor from working. And
yeah, see, I know there is an episode about this a little later on, but it's true that he's kind of in constant sort of pain or has a lot of like crazy headaches due to like how he has to see sort of through using sense and stuff like that. Yeah, they talk about it a little bit, but straight away we cut to total fan service with DeForest Kelley being wheeled out by Data.
How old do you think I am anyway?
137 years, Admiral, according to Starfleet records.
I don't see no points on your ears, boy. But you sound like a Vulcan.
No, sir. I'm an android.
Almost as bad.
What did you make of this, man?
The 137-year-old Bones walking around.
Poor Bones.
I thought it was kind of that handover of the baton, wasn't it, from the original series to the next gen. Yeah, it's a shame they couldn't have gotten Shatner to have done it. I don't know how they would have done it.
Yeah, I mean, where was William Shatner in 1987? Exactly.
Well, he was still alive and kicking.
Yeah.
He's still alive today. So.
Well, yeah, he's still alive today. What was that show he did? Was it, not frickin' Macmillan and Wife. It was one of those shows.
This is where your knowledge of obscure kind of American TV...
Oh, it's TJ Hooker, dude. TJ Hooker.
TJ Hooker.
There it is. Someone's screaming at us somewhere. But, Q returns...
Don't you guys know anything?
Yeah, with that, Q returns to the bridge and Worf pulls out a blaster and tries to shoot the viewer.
I thought even for Worf this was pretty stupid, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if that was such a great play for his character there, but he offers them a 24-hour ultimatum, and I can't talk today. No, I've got a note here that says Riker voices his suspicions about Zorn and Farpoint to the captain.
Yeah, that's right. I don't really have much more to add to that.
It's okay, we're just kind of winging it here. Riker meets with Troy and things get awkward. I think this is the first time those two are introduced to each other, is that right?
That's right. So again, there's a backstory here, isn't there, with Riker and Troy?
Yes.
And Troy speaks to Riker telepathically.
Yes, she does call him something. I forgot to write down exactly what it was.
Oh, yeah, it's like her pet name for him. I'm sure all the true TNG fans would be shouting this out right now.
Oh man, absolutely, yeah. No, it's just those long hot tub nights, whatever she called him.
Which was shaking his beard off every night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what? I wish I'd written that down. I really didn't. Oh well, doesn't matter.
It's all good. No, at this point, I believe it's Picard and Troy and possibly Data. They head down to meet Zorn, who is suspicious of what he calls a betazoid. I think he's referring to Troy in this instance, isn't he? Because he doesn't want her to be able to read his mind, but she claims that she's only half betazoid and can only sense emotion. Is that right? Strong emotions,
yeah. So Zorn's, he's obviously got something to hide, and that's been made clear earlier on in the episode.
Yeah, claiming he has nothing to hide.
Yeah, he keeps protesting his innocence, which is usually a pretty good sign of guilt,
Yeah, absolutely. But negotiations with him go south pretty quickly, at which point he threatens to ally with the Ferengi.
Yeah.
And Troy senses despair, pain, and loneliness from somewhere, at which point Groppler claims to be ignorant to the source.
That's right. So I thought this scene actually introduced the Ferengi as a didn't quite introduce them as a race because they're not seen, but just as the name was thrown out there.
Yeah, it's like the first name drop.
The name drop of the Ferengi. Now these were, we're gonna come across some Ferengi episodes later on.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
Oh man.
But these were obviously these were going to be the big baddies, weren't they?
Yes, yeah, they were. That's right.
And then everyone realised that they were just basically comic relief.
Yeah, it's better to have them as comic relief because they're not really that threatening.
Yeah, that's right. So what happens next then? So yeah, Troy has this kind of emotional kind of inclination that something's wrong. There's this great pain, which we'll find out later. What the source of that is.
Yeah, Groppler starts to get shady again, and they basically turn to leave. At which point Picard tells Zorn he hopes the Ferengi find him as tasty as they did their last business associates.
That's an interesting line, isn't it?
Which I thought was interesting. Now, we cut back to the Enterprise, and I have a note here that just says, "Thirsty direction girl checks Riker's butt." Did you see that? I believe it's when Riker's asking for directions to the AI.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, this is a bit of a strange one again because you'd think Riker would actually know his way around the ship as first officer. He would have kind of memorised, where he was going or known the main areas. And who's he trying to find? Is it Data?
I believe he's looking for Data. Yeah, he seems very clumsy and lost at this point. But I just thought it was funny. This chick is. Fair play to her, but she's so thirsty, man. She takes a long, hard look at the first officer's butt.
Yeah. It's a beardless Riker, isn't it?
It is a beardless Riker, man.
It's like an aphrodisiac, who couldn't resist the beardless Riker?
Yes. She just wanted to see those bonds talk.
Ensign, could you help me find Commander Data? I understand he's somewhere on this deck.
This way, sir. You must be new to these Galaxy-class starships, sir. Tell me the location of Commander Data.
Lieutenant Commander Data, now located in holodeck area 4J.
And as you can see, sir, it's pointing you that way.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
But Riker goes onto the holodeck, the AI unit, and finds Data whistling in a tree.
Marvelous. How easily humans do that.
Oh, what did you think about this scene?
I found it kind of, it was silly and kind of went nowhere, but at the same time it was kind of charming as well. It was sort of like a cute little back and forth between them, especially when it's the first time you hear Data sort of remark that he wants to be human, or he would trade all of his, android superiority, I guess, for human life. And Riker calls him Pinocchio?
Yeah, that's right. And I think I wrote it down. Data has an absolute fantastic line where afterwards he says, I shall endeavour to function adequately. This is before Data's really found his human speech patterns.
Man, I just, as soon as he said that, I immediately thought of, a future episode with him and another character, Tasha Yar, where I just wondered if that exact same line was repeated.
Of course. Yeah.
But
I'm sure as an android he probably would function quite adequately.
Man, do you reckon? What do you reckon Data's packing down there? Anyway, we'll save that for the After Dark. After Dark.
Yeah, that's the X-rated
Star Trek
podcast.
After Dark. Wesley crashes the AI unit and falls into the river.
Wesley!
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
He's saved by Data, comes out of the AI unit, gets the floor all wet, and Picard tells him he needs to detail that shit.
Yeah, he does. And again, one for the aficionados here, if you're like an uber nerd, the fact that Wesley drips water outside of the holodeck is like completely not how the holodeck is supposed to work.
Yeah, this confused the shit out of me, man. I didn't... Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to be able to take like the holographic matter outside of the holodeck.
No,
that's the whole point.
It makes no sense whatsoever. I sure hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Well, I think they do sort of clarify. I mean, the holodeck has always been a bit of a wing and a prayer, isn't it? Give us one miracle and we'll explain the rest.
Yeah, it's a great MacGuffin.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, it's useful. There's a lot of holodeck episodes that are going to come up.
That's it. It's an easy go-to. There's a scene between Wesley and Dr. Crusher where he keeps on complaining about wanting to see the bridge, which is annoying. We go back to Farpoint where Yar, Geordi, and Troy go to explore the underside of Farpoint Station.
So this is when they're walking around the weird tunnels, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Geordi remarks that he can't actually identify any of the materials in the tunnel, which everybody finds strange. They place a call to Riker, who instructs Troy to open her mind. She's been keeping it closed because of the pain and despair she felt before when they were talking to Zorn. She opens it up and feels extreme pain, suffering, and anguish, even worse than she did before.
Yes. Sorry, something's just caught my attention on the Wikipedia for this one.
Well, they got
which one idea discussed. This is a complete segue. It's nothing to do with what we're just talking about.
That's okay.
So one idea discussed by the production team was for Deanna Troi to have 3 breasts.
They were going to totally recall that shit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So to which DC Fontana, the writer of the episode, objected. So there you go. We could have had Deanna Troi with 3 breasts.
DC Fontana, my hat goes off to you, sir. Honestly, because I don't know if a 3-breasted Troy would have really added anything.
No.
Other than breast jokes, presumably. We go back to the Enterprise, up onto the bridge where Crusher and Wesley crash it.
Permission to report to the captain.
Dr. Crusher.
Captain. Sir, my son is not on the bridge. He merely accompanied me on the turbo lift.
Your son?
His name's Wesley. You last saw him years ago when...
Well, Flority's here. I knew your father, Wesley. Want to look around?
But don't touch anything.
Have we got to Wesley going up onto the bridge yet?
Yeah, we're up to the scene where Wesley goes up onto the bridge. Basically, Picard finds out that Wesley is, in fact, Dr. Crusher's son, Wesley being the kid that came out of the AI unit soaking wet earlier for some reason. And he agrees to let him look around the bridge.
Yeah. So, I mean, Picard's actually quite pleasant to him, I thought. Lets him sit in the captain's chair.
He does. He lets him sit in the captain's chair, which is kind of funny because a vessel does indeed approach, and the little bastard knows exactly what to do straight away.
The panel on your right is for log entries, library computer access retrieval. view screen control and intercom. So here we have...
On here, the backup con and ops panels, plus shield and armament controls.
The forward view screen is controlled from the ops position there.
Which uses high-resolution multispectral imaging sensors.
How the hell do you know that, boy?
Perimeter alert, Captain.
Wesley!
I'm sorry.
Wes, you shouldn't have touched
Get off the bridge, both of you.
You have a perimeter alert, sir.
As my son tried to tell you.
Yeah, he's got that nailed, doesn't he?
He totally has.
He has a great line of techno babble to do with the display screen, and Picard sort of shouts, "How do you know all this about Starship operations?" And then, it was a perimeter warning, and then Picard kicks him off the bridge. Get off the bridge, both of you. I think he shouts.
He was correct, though. There was, in fact, a perimeter warning. A vessel approaches, unidentified, and it starts to fire on the old Bandy city.
Yeah, so this looks like it's just like a generic UFO, isn't it?
It is,
we don't know why yet. And then just Q appears, doesn't he?
Well, I believe they start firing on the city. Yar, Troy, and Geordi beam back to the ship, and Data and Riker head to try and kidnap Groppler, at which point Q does return and blocks any attempts to kind of try and save Farpoint. He sort of locks control of the ship, because I think at one point Picard tries to position the Enterprise in between the fire, but obviously with no ship's control he's forced to just kind of sit back and watch. But there is an explosion down on the planet. Data and Riker are hit, but they are unharmed and manage to head to Groppler, but he is then taken midway through a conversation with them by some kind of weird purple beam.
He's beamed away. There was a sort of funny moment where Riker and Data get injured or get knocked down, and Data has this really long kind of reboot process where he's like checking over his systems and he reports that everything's functioning.
Yeah, he kind of does this little pop lock dance move, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that because they're really emphasising Data's not human. He's an android. I think it's quite good, actually.
Yeah, I think this is like the third time he's yanked someone violently to their feet in this episode at this point. I wasn't really keeping a count on it, but I think this is the mushy scene with Picard and Crusher, where Picard tells Crusher that he would like to have her reassigned to a different post.
That's right, yes.
Due to, in his mind at least, his presence kind of reminding her of the painful past with her deceased husband, but then she informs him that she did in fact sign up for this position and wanted to work by his side. So again, that scene just kind of goes completely nowhere.
Yeah, so there is actually quite a lot of this happening in this episode, where you have the overlying plot of Q testing them and everything going on with Farpoint Station. Then lots of kind of random scenes that are just like thrown in there, which I guess are there to introduce, the crew and the backstory, but they're kind of out of place and they don't particularly go anywhere. And actually, in many cases, just get overwritten in later episodes anyway.
Yeah, honestly,
they've actually had more time to think about, where the actual characters are going to be going.
Absolutely. The pacing of this episode honestly sometimes feels like a broken cassette tape player where it's just kind of going slow and then hyperspeed fast and then slow, and it's very jarring at points, but at the same time, like I said before, I've probably said this a bunch of times, but I still find it kind of charming at this point, how they're sort of still trying to kind of find their feet. Like the pace of the show, the characters. But yeah, at this point, Yar, Troy, Data and Riker beam onto the UFO, which is shooting down onto the planet, and they notice similar structure to the ones found underneath Farpoint. And this is our first clue that there may be some kind of relation between Farpoint Station and whatever this thing is above the planet that's firing down on the older Bondi Sea. Troy senses anger, unlike before where she sensed a lot of pain and suffering. At this point she's sensing a lot of anger and a strong power directed down onto the Bondi Sea. At this point, Data remarks about his constant exposition, which I thought was great.
Of course.
Was this just kind of...
And Riker congratulates him and says, keep it up.
Yeah.
Was keep it up, my friend.
This was totally just like a meta joke about kind of like was this, I don't know, did I read this wrong? Was this supposed to be kind of like a meta joke about sort of Spock being the expository sort of...
Well, constantly kind of explaining the situation to the viewer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Data is very much the Spock, isn't he, of TNG?
I think so, man, yeah.
And in a way, I think, they needed that sort of character because, there's a lot of techno-babble and other stuff going on, and actually to have someone, to have a character that's going to kind of explain or push the story forward a little bit.
Yeah.
Because without Data saying that, this kind of this hypothesizing or commenting or whatever it is he's doing, Riker's not going to know what to do next, is he?
No, not at all. Not at all. It is for the benefit of us, the audience, but at the same time, it does kind of. I mean, they play it off well within the script, I think. They find Zorn imprisoned aboard the ship in some kind of weird purple beam where he's seemingly in agony. They manage to shoot it, at which point we go back to the Enterprise. Q appears, as well as the rest of the crew, and Zorn and everybody appears back aboard the bridge for a final confrontation.
Why was it punishing you, Groppler? In return for some pain you'd given another creature.
Please believe me, we meant no harm to the creature. It was starving for energy.
Which your world furnishes you in plenty.
And we did feed it.
But only enough to keep it alive, so that you could force it to shape itself into whatever form you needed.
I mean, at this point in the episode, because it's a 1.5 hour long episode.
It is. It's a feature-length episode.
It's feature-length, yeah. I'm going to sound like such a lax amateur here, but my attention span was kind of wavering at this point.
I had to watch this twice, man. Honestly.
Yeah. So there is this confrontation, isn't there? Finally, and I think Picard kind of guesses his way through, or Q at least thinks he's guessing his way through. What's actually happening.
Yeah, Q is kind of goading them the whole time to open fire on this vessel.
That's
outside.
right, yeah.
So like I said, Q is kind of goading them into sort of opening fire and giving to sort of his idea of like base human savagery. But Picard finds out that Zorn has captured what was essentially an alien life form?
A space jellyfish.
Yeah, I want to talk about this space jellyfish, man.
Go on.
Why a space jellyfish?
Well, I think a better question is, why not a space jellyfish?
That's a perfect question, man. There's a perfect question. Yes, a space jellyfish has been imprisoned, and this is basically the thing that's been giving power to Farpoint Station. This alien, I guess, as Zorn explains it, the alien was injured down on the planet, or should we say injured in quotation marks. He claims they helped it, but it turns out they were basically feeding it just enough power to kind of keep it functional and alive, while still keeping it captured, so they could kind of exploit its powers for their own use, which does involve things like being able to sort of alter matter and things. Yeah,
so you see this with the UFO jellyfish that's early on in the episode, that it's able to transform itself into different physical shapes. So obviously the Farpoint Station is just this jellyfish.
Yeah,
that's transformed itself into a station, and that's how it's able to produce these super red shiny apples and lovely bolts of cloth and
that's it. But we find out that the inhabitants of the Bondi city were the ones that captured this alien and have been sort of keeping it. It is imprisoned, am I right?
Imprisoned, yeah. I think they're giving it enough energy, to fulfill its purpose as a station, but not enough energy to escape. And I think that's when they come up with the idea. I think Picard comes up with the idea of giving it a load of energy from the phasers. Yeah,
they basically send it kind of first aid energy beam from the Enterprise to repower it, or at least just enough so that it can basically take back off again.
Yeah, so it kind of reforms into its native jellyfish.
It does
persona.
It does reform into its native jellyfish persona. At which point Farpoint obviously ceases to be, because it's no longer a city; it is now a jellyfish alien. Which we see.
So the question is, what happens to all the people that were inside Farpoint?
Well,
they've been evacuated.
Yeah, there is a moment there where they, I think it's Zorn does send out. Or he says about his people in Farpoint, and Picard asks them to, send out an evacuation notice. So seemingly the city is evacuated by the time the jellyfish alien takes off once more.
That's a relief, I'll sleep easier tonight knowing that.
Yes, we can all sleep easier knowing that alien jellyfish can be happy in space, touching tentacles and flying off to explore infinity together.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit of a weird choice for a first alien, wasn't it?
It was, man. I found it so jarring. I completely forgot about the jellyfish ending to Farpoint. But
and did you notice how one of them was pink and one of them was blue?
Yes, totally.
So it's the whole, female male thing, and
so
you have to.
Does that mean that in whatever year we are currently in, Stardate? I didn't write the Stardate down, but are there only 2 genders?
Yeah, apparently so.
Let's get
Obviously, they didn't get the memo.
Let's get off of this quickly. But Q is proven wrong. The test is indeed passed, and Q leaves, but does threaten to return, which he absolutely will in future episodes, which is great because I love his character.
Why do you use other life forms for your recreation?
If so, you've not provided the best.
Leave us. We've passed your little test.
Temper, mon capitaine.
Get off my ship.
I do so only because it suits me to leave. I will not promise never to appear again.
Picard makes a comment on, I've just got a note here that says Picard remarks on possible better future episodes.
Just hoping this isn't the usual way our missions will go, sir.
Oh no, number 1. I'm sure most will be much more interesting.
He does, yeah. He says something like, "Oh, I'm sure our future encounters will be far more interesting."
It's like, basically saying, like, look, sorry guys, we realised this was bullshit. Please stay with us. It's going to get so much better. Next week, there's going to be fucking.
but it is going to get worse before it gets better.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just,
like Wiggum stuck in a hot dog machine, dude. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But
and it does get a lot better, but it does get quite a lot worse as well.
Oh boy, does it get worse. I mean,
get worse.
Like I say, now there's just I'm guessing there's just a huge crater left on the planet. Zorn goes unpunished? ? I mean, obviously he was held in agony for a little while. That probably sucked for him, but I guess nothing.
And the rest of the what's the race called? The Bandy.
Yes.
What happens to them?
I guess
presumably they're all culpable for doing this.
Absolutely. I guess it's not the Starfleet's position to judge.
Yeah, I think because they're not in the Federation, are they? So I don't know if they can really arrest,
Yeah.
people that aren't citizens of the Federation. It's basically just left open, isn't it?
It is. But yeah, like I say, Picard remarks that things will get better, and that is pretty much the end of the first episode.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
What are your thoughts on it, man? How did you feel about Encounter at Farpoint?
Well, it's funny because the first series of Trek is a series I generally don't watch. Like, I regularly watch Trek episodes, but I tend to always skip the first and second series.
Yeah.
With the exception of a few choice episodes that I really love.
Yeah.
So it's been many years since I'd seen this one. And I forgot just how... There are some really great moments, with Q and Picard, and some of the Data scenes. But you just forget how kind of clunky a lot of the characters are at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how they're just finding their feet. And I think it is really easy to be critical. For a season opener, 1987, it's not terrible, is it?
Like I say, yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you, man. Looking at its original airing date, for 1987, the set design is absolutely phenomenal. Even like the shots of the planet, which I thought were going to look terrible now, everything looked pretty good. I thought the effect in the AI unit where Data throws the rock against the invisible wall was pretty cool. That was a nice touch. But yeah, all in all, man, the music in the episode was fantastic.
Yeah, the music always great in Trek, isn't it?
The pacing is very off. There's a lot of scenes. I mean, there's a lot of fat that could be trimmed from this episode. I think they could have made this into a regular 45-minute episode, honestly, without doing... I mean, it's quite brave to open with a 2-part episode, to kind of open your show with a 2-part episode. It's like your first album being a double album, It's like
it is, yeah.
It's like I don't know, it's a risk.
Yeah, I mean, and presumably when this was first shown, they did show it back to back as a full 90-minute or presumably 2 hours with the adverts.
Oh yeah, I mean American commercial breaks back then. Yeah, sure.
So, but there wasn't a lot of TV on back then. So
no, I mean, shit. If I was of age, this would have blown my mind in 1987. I'm sure, man.
Yeah, I mean the fact is, I think everyone agrees that TNG did get off to a bit of a rocky start with the first series and the second series as well. But it did obviously become one of the most fantastic sci-fi shows really that's I think ever been produced.
Yeah,
it is remarkable, I think, to actually see like Encounter at Farpoint, this episode, and then compare it to some of the later episodes in season 4, season 5. Where it's just a marked. It's like a different.
It's like
TV show.
absolutely. It's like night and day. Some of those later episodes in comparison to this one. But that was Encounter at Farpoint, directed by Corey Allen and written by DC Fontana and Gene Roddenberry. Yeah, next week is it?
What's next week?
Oh man, what is
that? Hang on, I've got it. It's The Naked Now.
It's the Naked Now. It's The Naked Now. Got any hints about The Naked Now? I've got a hint. There might be some. There might be some fucking.
Is this the one with? I can't remember these early episodes. Is this the one where they have the fight scene with the like the semi-naked men in the ring?
I think quite possibly. I swear this is the. Is this not the one where Data and Tasha Yar do?
It is. Yeah, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia now. Yeah, Data referring to himself. Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
we'll get to that next week.
That's why my hint for next week was there might be some fucking.
There might be some fucking.
May or may not be some fucking. But yes, that was Encounter at Farpoint. This was a show that we haven't named yet.
Have we not? I'm sure. Oh yes, this is TBA. TBA TNG.
TBA TNG podcast. I'm Tom.
I'm Andy.
And that was the first episode.
Encounter at Farpoint. And if you actually sat through and listened to all of this, you deserve some sort of prize.
You should.
Of some description.
We deserve some sort of prize for watching the episode twice.
Yeah, twice. That's 3 solid hours of of Series 1 track.
I'm looking forward to next week's episode. But if you have been listening, thank you very much, and we will catch you next time.
On the next episode of Star Trek The Next Generation,
they're all dead.
A contaminated ship is spreading a strange disease.
It is definitely like alcohol intoxication.
And the new Enterprise is on a galactic collision course.
What we're seeing, sir, is a huge chunk of the star's surface blown away, heading for us.
Now, the crew faces disaster.
We're not going to make it.
On Star Trek The Next Generation.
Super professional episode.
Super professional.
Yeah,
so you're gonna hire 2 proper podcasting pros to then do it.
Come and do professional voiceovers. Yeah.
It really will sound truly professional at that point.
I'm going to be played by Frank Welker.